All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right. Here's another edition of ASAP's Real Talk. We're here a little short-handed tonight. As you can see, typically we've had anywhere from 9 to 10 people. So, when Jay Ness is supposedly going to be here in 5 minutes, I don't know. I don't believe anything that man says. He's a Cardinals fan. We can't put nothing past him. They cheated us, so I don't believe it. But, hey, hopefully he shows up. Either way, this is what you got right now. Say what's up to the people, Kenny.
What's up? What's up? Happy New Year, everybody. Glad to be back and always ready to talk some sports.
And as always, the slick, greased back, Air Force toting Tony. Say what's up to the people, Mafia brother.
Oh, what's up, man? Yeah, happy New Year to everybody. I hope everybody had a safe and good New Year. I kind of said it on the last show. I'm really hoping that 2022 is actually a brand new year, not just an extension of 2019, just continued on. It's like 2019 plus 3. I'm really hoping that's not the case.
I hear you.
Man, me too, man. Me too. Hey, that's exactly what I'm hoping for, because 2020 and 2021 were very difficult on many respects.
Yes.
So I'm hoping
a little bit different.
It's going to be the year that lifts us out of it. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about this Week 18 and what game out of Week 18 means the most, or is going to be the most fun to watch, or whatever you want to look, however you want to look at it. For me, I'm going to tell you right now, man, I got the Chargers and Raiders just because I'm kind of seeing who wraps up that last playoff spot, and I got the Chargers winning over the Raiders. I think the Raiders are just not going to have enough to compete with what the Chargers are going to bring to the table. Kenny, what do you got?
I like that game too, and there's a couple other ones that I was looking at too. I think the San Fran and Rams game is a real interesting matchup because I think the 49ers are still alive for the playoffs, so that could be an interesting one to look at. And then Pittsburgh and Baltimore, that's always a battle. And I believe Baltimore is still alive for a playoff spot. So those are the other two that I was looking at. But I like that one. I like that one as well as terms of the most intriguing one, because that's the winning your end game, the Las Vegas and LA matchup. So that's probably the most important out of all three. But I think all three of those are interesting ones to look at. But the most intriguing one is you called it, is the LA and Las Vegas one.
And before we go to Jay Ness and get his game, I think that Colts-Jacksonville, even though the Colts would most likely win that game given Jacksonville's record, but if the Steelers win tonight, in order to extend Ben Roethlisberger's season, I believe Jacksonville is going to have to beat the Colts, and of course the Steelers are going to have to beat the Ravens for that to be plausible. So I really am kind of looking at that Colts game just to see if the Jacksonville could pull off some kind of Music City miracle or something, just to help out the Steelers get into the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see what that entails. Yeah. Jay Ness, what's your game of the week, man, for Week 18?
Sounds like you guys were already touching on it. Hands down, it's the last game of Week 18, Sunday night primetime football, Vegas versus Chargers. And I don't know, anybody out there that's been following us on the different shows and whatnot. I've been telling you guys, watch out for the Raiders all year. I've been saying it. And, Mike, what's going on? I thought he pulled him on. What's going on, Mike?
Bro, you just said hi to nobody, bro. You looking mad.
I sure did. I sure did. I was fixing. Hey, I thought I had an octopus. I thought I had an extra hand. I'm fixing my headset. I thought I had already pushed the button, but no, that's hands down the game of the week. And the reason I'm gonna say this: it's two different tales of the season. Okay, we got the Chargers, who started out hot. They started out with Justin Herbert being, the talk of the town, so to speak. with the Chargers defense being, that team that, they're stepping up. Look at them. Are they going to finally win the AFC West? Then we had the Raiders, who also started out hot. They gave us, if you ask me, the first 3 weeks, they had the game of the week for the first 3 weeks. The Baltimore game, the Pittsburgh game, like they had game of the week for the first 3 weeks of the NFL. I think they had 2 overtimes and 1 last second fourth quarter finish in the first 3 weeks of the season. So watching the Raiders, in the first 3 weeks, watching the Chargers for the first 3 weeks, you think, these are going to be divisional foes that go down to week 18, which they were slated to play already. And, we're talking about divisional game for a divisional title here. Now, with the Chargers, they just took a slump. It wasn't the normal year for the Chargers where it's completely all injuries like normally. They just took a slump.
No cap.
I mean,
But they've been doing that the last couple years though, Jay. So I don't know. That's been more of a trend than it has been something out of the ordinary.
No, and I
They
wasn't
get off
saying
to
it was
these fast starts and then they slow down.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying it was necessarily out of the ordinary. I do believe that, most of the last few years was due to injuries and things like that. But what I was going with it, then you flip the script and you look at the Raiders and you got the John Gruden situation. Then you got the Henry Ruggs situation. Now we add to it today with the Hub situation.
Another DUI guy.
And let's talk about him.
They just can't catch a break, the Raiders. Did he learn from Ruggs? How does he not learn from Ruggs? If you're going to fall asleep, don't fall asleep on the exit ramp. Carry your ass up a little bit further, go next to the dumpster where it's dark, and then catch some Z's.
It didn't even start with Ruggs, though, either. It started with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was the first one to get a DUI.
Correct.
Then Ruggs followed, and now this. It's
and that right, Mike. There's 3 in a row.
Respectfully, I know players should be held accountable, but I see a trend with players in Las Vegas having.
It's Vegas, though, Mike. It's Vegas.
Vegas.
What happens in Vegas don't always stay there, but it's Vegas.
But how many other visiting teams have players that are getting caught up in Vegas?
Right. It's just
that's why nobody should be going to Vegas.
But they're not.
Well, I think that's what that was the the drawback or the concern that they had. I'm sure they had going into this,
right.
But the money just overshadowed all of the negatives. So now we're dealing with the consequences of it.
I mean, Kenny, we have NHL hockey players out there. We have
That's
college
true.
athletes.
Yep.
We have other athletes.
Yeah, but they know how to take Uber.
No, get it together. But
you got to be held accountable for your actions, no doubt.
But anyways, then you go to the end of it. We just talked about those other guys. So we're talking about a tale of 2 different seasons, and I think the Raiders really deserve to have that chance to really redeem themselves for this season, for the players that have taken that ride and have stuck it out and have been there and put their heart and soul into this season
right.
for them.
I do.
So
let me ask you a question, Jay. Do you think that the interim coach should keep the job, or should they look for someone else?
Typically, Kenny, I would say yes in this situation. Typically. However, this isn't a normal situation, and I don't think so. I think the whole front office needs to go. I'll stop at the general manager, but I think everybody on that coaching staff is gone, if you ask me, because you failed. You failed multiple times this season.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree with you. I just thought about it because considering the circumstances that he had to deal with, he's done a really good job.
Right.
He has. But now, what were you going to say, Mike?
I wouldn't get rid of the general manager. I think he's kind of drafted accordingly. I think the way you look at the draft picks, I think you look at Henry Ruggs, you look at Josh Jacobs, you look at Darren Waller and others, and those are guys, you hit on those guys. Like all of those guys panned out. All of those guys were good. You can't really anticipate what – now I would say this, Alex Leatherwood's dog shit. But, you can always groom that to be what it is. He can maybe be a better guard than he is a left tackle. That band's too big. But he came out of Alabama, so you can't even really knock him for doing it. Who were you going to take? Tevin Jenkins, who had back surgery literally the next day after the draft? Like, you weren't willing to take a chance on that. So I think relatively, though, I think the GM is fine. You took a chance on John Gruden, and honestly, I can't be mad at you for that, because despite what John Gruden said and despite his past and the emails and all of that, John Gruden was one hell of a coach back in the day. So you have to look at it for what it is. At the end of the day, though, I think with this team, despite making the playoffs, I don't care if they go all the way to the Super Bowl. You need to dismantle this entire team that had anything to do with anything that went on with this season, because you don't want a single piece of that being a part of the culture you're trying to establish. I love Waller. I love Derek Carr. I love other guys on this team, but you can't have that there. And Derek Carr can pretend as long as he wants to, we're going to go through adversity and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But, you shouldn't have to be having those conversations on a week-to-week basis. So I think you clean house entirely, get as many draft picks as you can for Waller and Jacobs and Carr and everybody. And you just kind of just full resend, because when you look at it, Ruggs is horrible. Like in a horrible situation. Like you lost out on a great wide receiver. And it's not that he was a horrible player, but just a horrible situation to where you need to go in full rebuild mode. And it shouldn't be that case. But really, when you really look at it, I love Renfro, but Ruggs was your future as your wide receivers. And Derek Carr is going into year 32 of his life. And Jacobs,
Waller was also playing a big part, though, too. Waller was a very big part of their future.
Right. And you look at Waller, and Waller's in a situation to where he can't stay healthy, and Josh Jacobs can't stay healthy. And when he is, he's on drugs, or he's this, or he's getting DUIs.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have to blow it up. You have to blow it up.
No, yeah, but I don't think... push back a little bit to you, though, on that drafting. Because if you look at Henry Ruggs' draft, and I just looked at it, like, you had Justin Jefferson in that draft, you had CeeDee Lamb in that draft, you had Jerry Jeudy in that draft that was picked after him.
Yeah.
And you would take all three of those guys before you take Henry Ruggs based off of their production. So, and then you got to look at the Khalil Mack trade. Like, there's been some shaky things that he's done. And I've been down on Mike Mayock, so I don't know if he needs to stay. I think he needs to go.
I think though, Kenny, to your point though, for the Khalil Mack thing, as a Bears fan, thank you always.
Of course.
But it's a situation to where Mack was leaving anyways, and you got the most value you could for him. Now I'll say this: what have I done with Khalil Mack? 2 wild card appearances. That's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't done anything with him yet, so it's the same situation to where they weren't going to do.
Yeah, but that's because it's the best. It's the best.
But do you think the Raiders would have done anything with him? They wouldn't.
No,
that's just a clear-cut answer. And I think the biggest thing and the biggest issue is when you really look at it at the end of the day, John Gruden was more of the fault of that than the GM, because John was the one that was saying, we're not paying this guy that much money. It wasn't anybody else. Everyone else in the room was like, let's pay the kid. And John didn't want to sign off on it. So that's on John at the end of the day. And to John's right, it took a couple years to get that pass rushing game back, but they have been solid without Khalil Mack. So it comes to that point to where it's like maybe he wasn't too far off from it. Now, it's still a bad look because you don't want to – with the Amari Cooper thing, like, you lost both of them. But Amari – Tony, I'm sorry. Jay, I'm sorry. Amari don't look that good either. You know what I mean? So it looks like it's to that point.
Only a home game. Only a home game.
The only point that I think that Kenny was trying to make is that I think even before the Henry Rugg incident, they were already looking at Henry Rugg as not what they expected compared to what else was in that draft.
Project, though. Don't you see?
No, we're gonna reel it back in real quick. We'll stay here all day on the whole Henry Rugg situation. Mike Hughes, Jay Ness, y'all don't report for being late. Tony, can you please make that notation? Mike Hughes, man, what's your game of the week, Bubba?
Game of the week.
Game of the week for week 18. What's your game?
What's your username say, Jay McLovin?
That's right, Giants negative 10 yards passing, baby. That's my shout out. That's my shout out to Playboy Freddie.
Freddie Henderson, I know you're closing tonight, but I just want you to know the Bears closed that fucking door the other day, and it was amazing. It was amazing, Jay. And that's my only F-bomb you'll hear from me on this show in 2022.
Hilarious.
But, man, bro, to see Mike Glennon, who used to be a Bear, who made my life hell all of 2016, It was great to see it. It was great to see it because Freddie's always talking all this crap, always talking all this nonsense. He goes, "Oh, well, we have your pick anyways." Well, guess what? At least I don't have Mike Glennon. At least I don't have Jake Fromm. Yeah, at least I don't have Daniel Jones. At least I got Justin. I got Justin on the shelf waiting for next year. Those 2 picks you got, who knows if they're going to even be any good?
It's going to be horrible like every other year. They're not going anywhere. Freddie knows it. That's why he keeps the Packers in his back pocket.
There you go.
Yeah, but then he gets mad because, I have like 3 NFL teams. Nate has like, 1 NFL team, but I think Nate has like 3 baseball teams, if I remember right.
Man, Nate's all over the place. You can't go with what Nate's doing, man. Nate right now is going to a baseball stadium somewhere by himself with a flashlight. Who knows?
What's your best matchup for Week 18, Mike?
Best matchup for Week 18? Looking at the schedule right now. I think when you really look at it, it really does come down to, at the end of the day, I like the Browns versus Steelers. I think that's an interesting game just because Big Ben's one of his last hurrahs. I think it might be a little bit more fun than a lot of people anticipate. But Cowboys-Eagles is one I'm really looking at, is just because they both clinched and they're both in the playoffs. So I think that's going to give you a pretty good idea of how serious you're going to have to take the Eagles in the playoffs if they can come out with that win. Because right now I really just look at the Eagles as, respectfully like a first-round exit. But if they could pull that through, I do think that could be the game of the week. But yeah, I also do think that Dan Campbell and the Lions are going to beat the Packers this week because I doubt Aaron Rodgers plays. So that'll be something for them. We'll definitely see another Lions win. That's always great. But yeah, that one for sure. That one I think Eagles Cowboys for me is I think because
it could be a back-to-back one. That you know what I mean.
Right,
so
you might have to play them back-to-back game. So Tony will be shaking in his boots if Jalen Hurts goes a little crazy.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll over to the next topic for discussion. Rookie of the Year. They already kind of talked about that on ASAP in the morning, but we'll kind of touch on it here too. I really do think that I like Jamar Chase for Rookie of the Year. I think that guy's just, especially the last game, he was a 266.
That pretty much.
Yeah, that was just stupid, man. That was just stupid.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
So I got Jamar Chase as mine. Kenny, what you want to start us off?
Yeah. That's it. He just closed the door on anyone else having any claim to that. You might be able to make a little case for Kyle Pitts, but he just shut the door on that. Like that's a historic game, and he's been killing all season. So he's definitely the Rookie of the Year, hands down.
All right, Jay Ness, who you got? Or are you going to the same one?
I'm going to go with the same one. I'm going to add some insight to the reason why it's unanimous. With 266 receiving yards on Sunday, Chase surpassed Jerry Butler with 255 receiving yards on September 23rd, 1979, for the most receiving yards in a single game by a rookie ever. Chase has also accumulated 1,429 receiving yards this season, surpassing Justin Jefferson at 1,400 receiving yards in 2020 for the most receiving yards by a rookie ever. Chase, who has had 201 receiving yards in Week 7, is the first rookie ever and fifth player in Super Bowl era to record multiple games with at least 200 receiving yards in a single season, joining Football Hall of Famers Calvin Johnson in 2011 and 2012, Don Maynard, 1968, as well as Josh Gordon in 2013 and Alshon Jeffrey in 2013 as well. So when we come on here, guys, and we're telling you unanimously that you're going to start hearing it, Jamar Chase is unanimously the Rookie of the Year. This is why. We've seen Mac Jones. We've seen a rookie come out, a quarterback come out and do this.
Right.
We've seen somebody do that. You know what I mean? We've seen the Ben Roethlisberger. We've seen the Tom Brady when he did his thing. We've seen these guys have these seasons, but what Jamar Chase is doing at receiver, not Jerry Rice, not Randy Moss, not Terrell Owens, none of these greats have done. And that's why not only is he the Rookie of the Year, I'm looking at him for the next couple of years as dominating this receiver position.
Okay. Mike Hughes, what you looking at?
Listen, let me tell you something about that man, Jamar Chase. What happened was I was 7-7. 7-7. Kelsey's Killers in fantasy football was a wild card team. I was the worst team in the playoffs. This man
55 points.
I'm changing the team's name. Kelsey's Killers is no longer. I went all the way to the championship. This week was my championship. Jamar Chase out here gave me 53 points. I ain't never seen something like that in my life. This kid, I'm not gonna let y'all skate. I ain't gonna let anybody skate. I remember, this kid can't even see the white on the football. He shouldn't be drafted. They should have took Penei Sewell. They should have took this. They should have took an offensive lineman.
Yeah, well, some questions. He was having some drops in the preseason. He was asking questions about him. You're right.
Yeah, asking so many questions about him, laughing at him, saying he can't see the football. He can't see the football because he's barely holding on to the thing. The second he catches it, it's a touchdown. He's throwing it into the end zone. He don't give a shit about nothing. And Jamar Chase, to me, is the next generational talent. Them LSU boys, I ain't gonna lie to you. That's the only LSU boys that are good. Like, other than that, they're not good. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm sorry, Jim, if you're watching this. But other than that little class of Burrow and Jefferson and Jamar, that's really it. But I'll let you have your moment. These kids are generational, and I'm praying one day Jefferson teams up with them or vice versa, whatever it may be. Even if it's on the Vikings, I'll be honored to get my butt whooped by them twice a year on the Bears. But I think that is just so dope to see these guys balling out in a different way that we haven't really seen it because it's just been so quarterback heavy for so long. And my Kyle Pitts thing, I'm big on Kyle Pitts. Kenny knows I've been a Kyle Pitts supporter for a very long time. But my problem with Kyle, especially with what Jamar is doing, it's a situation to where you're a tight end and that position is a plethora in the red zone, and you have one touchdown on the year. And Matt Ryan, even though he's not great, is no scrub. Like, he is an MVP. He has won before. Like, it's just the truth of the matter. You know, he's been to a Super Bowl. Like, you need to have more than one single touchdown to win that award. I don't care if you have over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
That's why, to me, Kyle is – it was a great season, don't get me wrong. And it was the first time a receiver tight end has had over 1,000 yards in a single season since Mike Ditka. And that was in 1961. So that's amazing.
Rookie.
Yeah, as a rookie. So that's amazing. But you can't touch Jamar right now. Not even close.
Tony, you got anything on there? Are you just over there looking pretty?
I mean, always both. I mean, heck, for the longest time, that's what I got paid to. That's what I got paid to do for the military was be pretty for like 5 years. But yeah, I would agree with Jamar. I mean, you could even as a little bit of a biased Cowboys fan, you could probably even make a bit of an argument for Micah Parsons. Just not only the impact that he's made on the defense, but statistically the impact that Micah has made.
Would be defensive rookie of the year, though.
Yeah.
On the word, right?
Oh, we're just talking about offensive. Okay, yeah. Then hands down, it's Jamar. I don't think anybody else would really be close. You could. I know Patriots fans could maybe make an argument for Mac, but I mean, okay, cool. You got 10 wins. You're going to go in the playoffs.
He's just an average.
He's just doing well in a system.
Yeah, he's a game manager.
In a system that was really built for him. Like
exactly.
if you think of the system that he had in Alabama, that's basically the same system he has in New England. So
in a sense.
And speaking of, since my Army buddy there, Jay, decided to skip me on the my big game for Week 18 because I was late. I'm honestly, I'm gonna kind of stay with it. I'm gonna say the Dolphins and the Patriots are my big matchup because they almost never do well whenever they go down to Miami, and it'll be interesting to see, does the AFC East go to Buffalo or does it go to New England? Go to Foxborough, or does New England have to travel?
Even though you come late, you gotta act like you're not late. You gotta act like everybody else late. That's what I do.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm producing, so everybody else is late.
I'll be like, damn, where y'all been? The second I come.
Hey, man, I just want to know real quick. I got a question real quick before we go to the next topic, because I've been wanting this for a while now, and since I'm thinking about it because I'm old, I got to say it real quick. Tony, are you in a kid's room? Because you got colors like you played in kindergarten. Is that like a kid's room?
Yeah, this is my kid's room. No, it's my room. You ever seen the show Game of Thrones?
The Game of Thrones? No, I thought those were crayons.
No, I'm not in the Marine Corps. No, I can't do crayons.
Tony's the Dragon Slayer, bro. Don't even.
Yeah, I'm secretly a giant nerd at heart.
Okay.
I got all my Lego collection in here from like 15 plus years. So I mean,
that's a great spot to put the plug. Watch out for Minds of Creativity coming soon.
Exactly.
Hey, all right. Let's move on to Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not being loyal. I think Michael Parsons has got my vote. Michael Parsons. The boy. Hey, listen. They already said if he gets 13 tackles or 13 sacks and over 100 tackles, they should be. And I'm pretty sure he's closing in on that. The guy is just phenomenal at changing the defense. He's really done a lot for Dallas's defense, especially now we got Gregory back and we got Lawrence back. That guy they play him everywhere, every damn where. And if you look at the Cowboys, if there's a snap going on the defensive side, Michael Parsons is somewhere involved in it. I guarantee you.
And he's always near the ball.
I think he's playing a hell of a game. They're probably not going to give it to him because, like you said, he's a rookie. They'll probably give it to somebody like Myles Garrett or whatever. But man, I like Michael Parsons. I just think that's my boy. I think he's done enough to garner attention and at least looking at him as being Defensive Player of the Year.
I don't know, Mike's boy up there in Chicago, Robert Quinn, with 18 sacks this season. He's very quiet.
Come on, and let me just point out something. Khalil Mack played like 5 games. This man has not missed a beat. It is not because of Khalil Mack. Akeem Hicks is out. Khalil Mack is out. Danny Trevathan is out. They missed the entire season. Akeem Hicks comes in once in a while. He does a cool little dance, and then he tears something. It's just so unfortunate. I love Akeem. I love Akeem so much. I'll never shit on Akeem, but it's been a tragic season for him. But Robert Quinn
it's been less than fortunate for him, definitely.
It's really sad to see it go down like that, especially because he's going to be a free agent. I doubt they keep him. But it's a situation to where Robert Quinn, to me, is the Defensive Player of the Year because I look at it like this. When you look at an MVP award, you look at, how many wins do you have? Like DeMar DeRozan right now. DeMar DeRozan in the NBA is in the conversation for the MVP. Why? Because the Bulls are 24-10. If he was having
we should have known he was going to work that in the conversation.
No, but I'm just saying, if he was still on the Spurs with these same numbers, you're not having this conversation. Like you're just not. Like it's not the same. You know what I mean? Right. If the Spurs are 5-20, no one's talking about it. But no one's talking about Robert Quinn for the same reasons. Everyone kind of stopped talking about Myles Garrett because the Browns are horrible. So they kept talking about Micah Parsons because he's the most relevant, the same way they did it with TJ Watt last year. And it's no shot at Micah or TJ, but if it's not an MVP award, I don't see why the record matters at the end of the day. Like that's just truly how I look at it. If you're putting up the numbers,
that's real.
To me, I look at Justin Jefferson. If Justin Jefferson has over 2,000 receiving yards last year, damn near, and he still misses the playoffs, but he's still got Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like, that's just how you have to look at it. And at the end of the day, to me, 18 sacks versus 12 or 13, like I get you. I hear you. Mike is doing amazing things, and he will be a Defensive Player of the Year award winner. But as of right now, I'd give it to Robert. That's just me.
No, we don't like you, so shut the hell up.
Oh, man.
How can we love you, Mike? I'm just messing with you.
Read that username one more time, because that's Robert.
I know, man. I'm just messing with you, Mike. Don't get your pennies in a ruffle. Jay Ness, who's your player? And I'm gonna let Kenny and Tony go wrap this thing up.
So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit more stats and bonus behind it. So Defensive Player of the Year and Defensive Rookie Player of the Year are going to go hand in hand this year. Micah Parsons is about to win both, and the reason being he's about to be if he has a strong week 18, there's going to be another guy that's setting records for historic rookie seasons. So stats currently 79 tackles, 13 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 pass defense, 45 pressures, and 29 quarterback hits. So this is where that ranks us. Like you said, TJ and Robert Quinn, 17-18. Mika's at 13 sacks. TJ Watt, 31 hits on the quarterback. Micah Parsons, 29. NFL leaders in pressures. Bosa, Garrett are tied for 46. Micah Parsons, 45. So again, when we break it down, just like we were talking about Chase, Micah Parsons having an exceptional year, probably one of the craziest defensive rookie seasons we've witnessed in quite a long time.
Right.
And I think single-handedly, Mike, I think normally I would agree with you with this Robert Quinn thing, but I think single-handedly Micah Parsons has changed the atmosphere on the defensive end of the ball in Dallas.
Oh, definitely.
And I think if an MVP could be given to a defensive player for any other reason than being kind of like what changes the narrative, this is the guy that gets it, and this is the year that he deserves it. So I love Robert Quinn. He's a rough finish second, but I have to go Micah.
Kenny.
All right. Kenny, what you got, man?
Well, hey, I mean, I can't disagree with the man. What are we gonna say here? No, seriously.
Hey, what is New York Knicks crap on? I don't understand you, but
I'm a
okay,
Knicks
go ahead,
fan.
Kenny.
He's a Knicks fan.
I know. I gotta give him crap too.
You can make it. So I was looking at it as well, and you can make a case for a couple of guys. T.J. Watt, you can make a case for. You can make a case for Myles Garrett. You can make a case for Aaron Donald, because he has 12.5 sacks and 77 tackles. But I think the biggest point in it, and Jay already made it, so I'm just going to piggyback on it, is why Micah Parsons should get this award, and Robert Quinn as well. Let me show him some love as well, because he's had a big time season. But I think the problem with, and Mike, you said it, is that because they have such a bad team, he's not going to get the love that he deserves.
Right.
But the reason why the case is for Micah Parsons is what Jay said in terms of last year, the Dallas Cowboys was like the all-time worst defensive. They're like the worst defense of all time last year. Like it was like
horrible,
embarrassingly bad defensively. And you pretty much brought back the same. You pretty much brought back the same unit, except for you got a couple of other pieces there, but the biggest piece or the biggest difference maker was Micah Parsons. So, between him and Trevon Diggs making plays, like that defense has gone from being a joke to being actually, a defense that's respected and feared to some extent. So I just think he has the biggest reason, or the biggest he plays the biggest part as to why that is happening. And also the other thing is his versatility. Like he has 84 tackles to go along with those 13 sacks.
Right.
And there's no reason why, I guess it all depends on how much he gets used on next week. But he could mess around and get 100 tackles. So if he has 100 tackles and you know what I'm saying, maybe another sack and a half, 15 sacks, like that's unheard of, like in terms of numbers, in terms of production on the defensive side of the ball. So I think for that reason, and because the Dallas defense has made such a turnaround in 1 year, I think that's why he's going to wind up getting it. But you could definitely make a case for Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, T.J. Watt. You can make a case for. You can make a case for Robert Quinn. But I think that because of how he's changed the culture, right, I think that's why Mike is going to get the award.
Now, for the Cowboys in the room, though, I am curious. Now, is not paying Robert Quinn kind of something that upsets you guys?
Oh, man. Well, you know what? Actually,
because him and Micah.
It probably opened up the door for Randy Gregory.
Yeah,
so I think I don't think they wanted to give him that opportunity. And Randy Gregory's has played really well.
Yeah,
so, I think whether we had Randy Gregory or Robert Quinn, I think we were going to wind up being just as good with either one of those guys. So at the end of the day, I don't think it hurt us, but I mean, obviously it helped you guys. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give him back for a 4th round pick right now.
Well, I'll be honest with you. You gotta think the reason why we traded for Robert anyway, because
right,
he was basically not being used in Miami, and Randy was suspended because of using drugs.
Because of what, Tony?
Oh, just smoking some weed.
Which you'll find out a lot about. What you'll hear a lot more about weed and the uses of weed on what new show coming, Jay? What is that new show going to be called?
Network Minds of Creativity.
Oh yeah, you can find a lot more conversations like that going on that new show. We'll be talking about that very soon.
Exactly.
But all right, we're gonna move on now. Final wild card spot for NFC. I got the Chargers taking that one. Who do you got, Tony? We'll just go around the horn.
Wait, the NFC or the AFC?
NFC.
You said the NFC and then you said the Chargers.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant AFC. I apologize. I don't know.
What an idiot.
I'm confused, Jay. I'm confused. I'll be honest.
I got Chargers for AFC and NFC. I got probably the 49ers.
I'll be honest. I'm actually going to go the opposite. I'm going to say the Raiders. And I said this actually on Bring It just a little bit ago. I don't know how many of y'all remember when Brett Favre's dad passed away, and Brett Favre was playing Monday night, and he played with just raw emotion and just absolutely destroyed everything. Yeah. I feel like the Raiders are kind of doing the same thing. They went into Indy yesterday. They beat an Indy team that they weren't supposed to beat at all. And the fact that John Madden passed away, the all-time great Raiders coach, what better way for them to finish off the season? Come back home into Vegas, honor John Madden, the last game of the season, and beat the Chargers, kind of secure that wild card spot for the AFC. For the NFC, I would have to go. I'd have to go with the Niners. Like I said, I kind of felt that Philly was also going to get in there. I felt that they were better than the Vikings by far, just with the run game. So I'm gonna go with the Raiders, 49ers. Not California teams, because Raiders are now in Vegas. All West Coast teams. All West Coast.
What you got, Jay?
That's pretty much what I was gonna say. Like I said, guys, and to the Raider Nation out there, I totally apologize for not even mentioning or getting to mention the great John Madden. But that was another roller coaster in that. So, definitely hats off to that. So I just feel like the Raiders, kind of like what Tony just said, and I preach it all the time, guys. I believe in stories and sports. And not to say that sports is scripted, but things like that happen for a reason. So I really do believe the Raiders will end up making the playoffs. I think they beat San Diego, which is going to mean a lot to Raider Nation.
Right.
We beating them in Week 18 to make it to the playoffs. And then on the flip side, I think the Niners are hot. Right now. And Deebo Samuel, let's talk about most improved player.
Where'd he go? Where'd that man?
Man, Deebo Samuel, bro, he's turned into a beast this year. So, again, I would say I would agree, Raiders and Niners.
All right. Mike Hughes, what you got, man?
I got the same thing. I would have said, I think that revenge tour very late in the season for the Steelers could have been with potential. But you tied with the Lions and kind of screwed yourself on that. So you were 7-7-1 instead of 8-7. And that definitely came back and bit you. But again, I like Dan Campbell. I like the Lions. So I'll let that slide. But it's definitely something to where you can't. Mathematically, I look at it and I go, there's no real reason I could see the Steelers. This is just for them being in the hunt. But like mathematically, even if they win, you're 8-1, and everyone else would just be 9-8. Like I don't see that happening. As for everyone else, I think I do believe what Jay said. I believe in stories. And I believe in those Cinderella teams. I believe in Kelsey's Killers winning the fantasy football championship because I'm living proof of it. But no, as someone,
all right, that's your last fantasy championship.
I'm just saying. I gotta say it because they counted me out. They was laughing. But it's definitely something to where, for me, in my personal experience, like when my dad passed away, that football season, that whole team had zero expectations. Like we had zero expectations for what was going to go down. And then when that happened with me, we just kind of rallied around it and just got closer, and we won a championship that year. And honestly, when you look at it on a stat sheet, like we had no business doing that. We had no business being who we were. We had no business walking in that room and taking names and kicking ass. Pause. But it is like that. And I think the John Madden stuff, honestly, was a blessing in disguise. Because it brought this locker room and this community and this team together. That's desperately what they needed, because the John Gruden stuff was awful, and the Henry Ruggs situation was awful.
It was worse.
It's horrible. I wouldn't say it's worse.
Yes, no, it's worse.
I don't know.
Bro. Hey, remember, Mike? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's John Gruden. Yeah, bro. And hey, I'll take on that what Kenny just said. I
don't know if
wait.
The Henry Ruggs stuff was worse than Gruden.
No, it's psychologically, bro. Listen, If you heard Derek Carr when he got on the microphone the next day, he said, I just talked to him 15 minutes before that.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's a situation.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, I hear you, but I think at the end of the day, you're right, though, Jay. I think it brings a lot of people together, and I think that is kind of it's unfortunate, but it's exactly what you need because that's what John would want too, is to see these guys succeed. So it gives them even more of a reason to come together. And for the 49ers, come on, man. Y'all know I love Jimmy G. I'll always be riding with Jimmy G. So I'm rooting for them. Kittle is a Bears fan. Gotta rock with Kittle too. But yeah, I think the 49ers have the easiest shot just because they're the hottest right now. But I'm curious to see if Trey Lance gets a little bit more opportunity, or is he just going to be back, shelved back onto the sideline like everybody else, Justin Fields. But yeah, I don't know. I would say 49ers Raiders.
All right, Kenny, what you got, brother?
Yeah, I'm the same. I just think that it's a whole rallying cry that's going on for the Raiders, and they have like a Cinderella story going on right now. And to Jay's point, so I just think they're going to continue to ride this out. And then also with the Chargers, man, every time you think that you have any type of expectations for them, they always seem to let you down. So this is seeming like this would kind of be par for the course. You know what I'm saying? Like they always come up short in a big spot. So I just think that. And then the 49ers, let me ask you a question though. Who would you take if you had to pick between Deebo Samuel and I just forgot his name that quick.
Keenan Allen?
From Atlanta, the wide receiver running back combo.
Oh, Cordell Patterson.
Cordell Patterson. Who would you take if you had to pick between Deebo Samuel and Cordell Patterson?
Well, I've had Cordell Patterson, so I'm gonna say Deebo. I think Cordell is one of those situations your team is just that bad to where when you have a Swiss Army knife like that, you're kind of forced to use him everywhere. So I think that's why you really see him shine.
Yeah, I kind of agree because if you think about it, Cordell's been one of the he's a journeyman wide receiver. Like the Vikings drafted him first round. He was good, but he never really panned out as far as the wide receiver talent that they thought he was going to be. Right. He went to the Raiders for a little bit, then he went to Chicago. Now he's I think he's with the Patriots. Now he's with the Falcons. So I mean, he's kind of been everywhere. He's one of those. Right. He's a great athlete. He's a good player when you need him to be. But one of the.
You can't pretend that he wasn't a special teams unit guy for like the last 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I was asking, because he kind of gives you all these phases.
He's more of a gadget player, whereas Deebo, I could see he can be, but he's more of a complete wide receiver, whereas Cordell Patterson really never was.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that Cordell Patterson, or my bad, Deebo Samuels is a better wide receiver, period.
No.
But as far as on outside of those, I think Cordell Patterson is better than Deebo. And
look at he's a jack of all trades. I mean, he's doing just about everything. So he's a multi-faceted player. So I mean, that's crazy.
But so does Deebo. I think the only thing that got Cordell Patterson the prime time position that we're seeing today in this season is he gained weight and he gained muscle this year that he didn't have in previous years. And now he's able to put a hit on people more than they put a hit on him in kickoff and punt returns and things like that.
Jay, would you say on a championship?
I still go Deebo.
Team, no, right, but would you say on a championship caliber team that you're using Patterson the same way you use him in Atlanta? Because you have guys on that roster who deserve those spots, and you just can't be plugging this guy in wherever you want. Whereas on a rebuilding team, you could put him anywhere.
I'll tell you right now, Mike, I'll pick any of the top 6 teams, 3 on each side in each conference. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'll say yes right now. I would use him in the exact same way that he's being used in Atlanta on each of the 3 teams on each of the side, each conference. In the Packers, oh my God, what it would do to that team. Oh my God.
Right.
And then you look at somebody like Tampa Bay right now. I mean, granted, they just had all these injuries, so if it's very suitable for the conversation.
A couple other things too.
Yeah, but even before that, you plug him in there as a fill in the gap, fill in the blank type of. I'm going to plug him here and take Antonio Brown off the field and let him rest. And then I'm going to take Mike Evans.
You fit him in just the way the Patriots did with Kevin Falk, man, and the way they use Kevin Falk. I mean, he can walk out the race.
And remember the first 2 years that Tyreek Hill really broke out. They were just putting him anywhere they could at that moment just to get him the ball.
Right, and
So,
that's honestly how I felt about Henry Ruggs. Was the same thing with Tyreek. Was I think it was just going to take a little bit of time. It was going to be like a project.
Yeah,
Henry Ruggs was definitely a project.
No, he was there. He was there.
Yeah, no, he was there. He had the speed to be that type of game.
All right, we're gonna jump over to the NBA now and talk about these top 3 teams in the East.
He's got.
We're talking about the top 3 teams in the East now, Mike. Stay with the program. I know you still over there talking about Cordell and freaking Debo, but stay with the freaking program, all right? Top 3 teams in the East, Mike. I'm gonna let you go first. Top 3 teams in the East. What you got?
What are we talking about? Basketball?
Yes.
Yeah,
no, man, we're talking about basketball. Stay with the program,
Mike. We framed the question.
I just said we were jumping over to the NBA, and then I said, Mike, top 3 teams in the East. Who you got?
DJ, but when you yelling at me like that, your mic cuts off, so I only hear half of what you say.
My mic does not cut off. It's a blue snowball. It does not fail. It's just your reception. You're out there in the snow for the crying of all lives.
Man, you don't even know.
I ain't got no power. I can't come on the show. Shut up, Mike. Top 3 teams in the East.
Top 3 teams in the East. Number 1, I'm gonna say it with my chest: the Chicago Bulls. I think there's no doubt about it. I don't think anybody can tell me otherwise. I think you have to prove it. Like, tell me something about it. Tell me why I'm wrong. The Bulls are first in the East right now for the first time in I don't know how long. Like, literally, the only time I remember the Bulls being first in the East was the first game of the season in like 2018, and then they lost like 10 straight immediately after. So it's like I haven't seen it last this long in a very long time. Number 2, I'm gonna still give it to the Nets. I think what they're doing right now with Kyrie Irving gone, with James Harden, I guess you could say underperforming, but still kind of doing his thing and leading the league in turnovers. They're still doing it. They're still out there. They're still working, and they're still surprising a lot of people. Kyrie's scheduled to be playing Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Which still makes no sense to me, but they literally waited for COVID to get bad again to bring in an unvaccinated person. But that's a conversation. That's a conversation.
You leave my boy alone.
I'm just saying.
We're glad to have him back. We're glad to have him back. Glad to have him back.
But number 3, I think number 3 is where it gets tricky and where I upset a lot of people. I'm going to say the Miami Heat. I think when you really look at it, Bam Adebayo has been out for a while. But if we're looking at it as an actual team all around, I love what Giannis is doing. I love Milwaukee. But I think once Victor Oladipo, once Bam, and once a couple other cats get healthy in Miami, it's going to be a serious problem. So I would have it Bulls, Nets, and then Miami.
It's not bad. Kenny, what you got?
I got a little different from Mike. I got Brooklyn number 1, especially now with Kyrie coming back, and the fact that they're only a game behind Chicago. And they've kind of been playing at half strength or not been playing at full strength most of the season, especially with dealing with the COVID. And you guys been dealing with the COVID as well.
I was about to say, Kenny.
No, but they took us. They
restarted guys just
like. I think you guys gave it to Brooklyn. I think you guys gave it to everybody. To be honest with you, but yeah. So I just think, and I'm also thinking long term in terms of playoffs. So like, if I'm thinking the teams 1 through 3 that I would least like to see in the playoff or least like to match up against, if I'm another team in the Eastern Conference, like Brooklyn is gonna be number 1.
Right.
I got Chicago 2. They're right behind them, because they have those. The reason why I'm putting Brooklyn over Chicago is, and again, I'm thinking about playoffs, is that they're not playoff proof. And those guys, this will be their first. A lot of those guys, this will be their first time even making the playoffs.
Kenny, I have just a question before you.
Go ahead.
Because I am curious, because you talk about the playoffs, but if you look at it now, if we look at it from this perspective, let's say the Nets are the first seed, right, and the Bulls are the second. Let's just say hypothetically. That means you have to have 3 to 4 games in Brooklyn without Kyrie Irving. So you're not really a threat to me because the Bulls have beat them twice already. So
that's barring injuries too at the Nets. I mean, that's saying everybody's healthy.
I'm just saying Kyrie's not going to be there.
Hold on.
And
before you push that narrative, don't go too far into it. Just let's foreshadow that for later on.
As
we're
of
going to dig
now,
into Kyrie.
Right. He's not vaccinated as of right now, so he wouldn't be able to play in New York. Chicago's doing the same mandate thing very soon. It's coming, I think, January 15th. So if we do play Brooklyn, Kyrie can't play at all.
Well, we'll get into Kyrie.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
that's
Kenny.
Okay, did you finish your top three? Or Mike Hughes, I need you to change your name to long-winded.
No.
I was
to
just
answer
saying.
this question. No, I'm gonna answer this question really quick.
Well, Mike Hughes, I need you to change your name to long-winded because you're long-winded, man. Change that name while he answers.
Man, I just see a bunch of giant stuff on your screen.
Yeah, what it is now and what it is then, that could be totally different. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I got Brooklyn 1, I got Chicago 2, and then I got Milwaukee 3.
Slide Milwaukee back up in there.
Yeah,
That's
to
fair.
me, top to bottom, if I'm putting those two teams head to head and I'm going top to bottom, and in the playoffs, you have to have that one guy that's able to take over the game. And that's my only question about Miami is that when they need a bucket, like who are you going to?
It's hard.
Because I got questions about Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. Hasn't really gotten the job done when he's had to be that guy. And then Bam has struggled in the playoffs last year or the last couple of years. So that's my only question about them. And you know what you're getting with Milwaukee. You got Drew Holiday that can make a big shot, Chris Middleton that can make a big shot, and of course Giannis. So they almost have 3 closers to a degree.
Right.
So so that's why I got them 3. So I got Brooklyn, Chicago, and Milwaukee.
Man, it's so nice to hear y'all say that, man. It's so nice to hear y'all.
J Ness, what you got, man?
So I'm gonna be a little bit different. And
Don't be too different though.
To all your guys' points, I have my points as well. So Milwaukee currently in the standings ranking is number 2. However, I have them at number 1. Reason being, let me explain, Mike. So first of all, you got to beat the champs to beat the champ, to be the champs,
That's
right?
fair.
Besides that, Brook Lopez has been out all season. DeMarcus Cousins just came in. He's starting to gel with them. Okay.
Let's go, Boogie.
DeMarcus Cousins, once he gets his feet underneath him, he's gonna vibe very well with Giannis and them down there. The other thing is Bobby Portis has really bought into his role this year. He's playing bigger than ever before. Okay. So being that they are the defending champs and they're sitting number 2 in the standings, I got them.
I'm not mad at
1.
that. Yeah, I can't be mad at that.
I ain't tripping about it.
Chicago, I have it too, only because of the championship clause. Because without the championship clause, Chicago is number 2 with at least 12 games of COVID.
Right.
At least 12 games affected by COVID.
We still got guys.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I do look at that, I do take that into account. Not only are you guys number 2 in the standings, but I can look at the next after Brooklyn, but the next 4 people underneath Brooklyn, and they're not competing with these top 3 right now in the East.
Right.
And I just gave my 3rd away. I got Brooklyn. The reasons are infinite. That's my top 3.
Tony, what you looking at?
Yeah, I would kind of agree. I would say the Nets first though, just because of the overall firepower. I mean, if you can get a healthy Kevin Durant, if you can get a healthy James Harden, whether you have Kyrie or not, I think that's too much for Giannis and company to be able to overcome.
Right.
But I would keep the Nets at 1. I would have the Bucks at 2, kind of like what Jay said. You gotta to beat the champs, you got to beat the champs, and they did. Now, careful, Mike. I still got Chicago at 3. Chicago's still 3.
How you got Brooklyn at 1 now? No. Keep that same energy, Tony. How you got Brooklyn at 1 if you got to beat the champs to beat the champs?
Oh yeah, well because again you got to think about
one-on-one
matchup.
Brooklyn ain't beat nobody.
KD or Giannis? Who you gonna take?
I'll take Giannis. Take KD. I'll take KD.
That's what I'm talking about, Mike. But I do agree with Jay's point, though, albeit the fact that Chicago has literally lived with what is COVID for like the entirety of the NBA season and still managed to win and still managed to be where they're at says a lot to Chicago's depth and their ability to play, which I think for any team is going to continue to be dangerous. I think Miami would be a careful consideration, but again, when they need a bucket, who's going to actually go out and get it for them? Because it's not going to be Jimmy Butler, not going to be Oladipo.
Right.
So who is really going to be that step-up leader for Miami to be able to carry him?
Right.
Yeah, I'm definitely putting Milwaukee. I believe, like what Jay said, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and they still have the same team. They did lose PJ Tucker, which I like his edginess, and I like how he's on defense. Which I thought that was a big loss for them guys. I think you need that one guy, that Mario Ellie, that junkyard dog. I think you need that kind of guy, but. With the addition of Cousins, I like that. And I think once Cousins kind of feels something more, that's going to be a really nasty approach to it. Like you said about Portis, I agree with that. I think Milwaukee is still the team to beat. I'm going to put Brooklyn. I'm not Brooklyn. I'm putting Chicago at number 2 because Chicago is just playing nice. DeRozan with the back-to-back game, just nice. Just nice. And I will tell you this. They've gone through a lot. Chicago's gone through a lot. And I believe a team that can go through a lot and come out the other side and then be at the number 1 spot and doing great things, they're getting no momentum. Come on, man. That's a dangerous team. I don't care how you look at it. And look, let me tell you something about Brooklyn. They didn't do shit last year, and they had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and your boy, James Harden. And they were sitting at home watching the finals. Now you got Kyrie Irving only on a part-time basis.
Right.
And you're going to tell me they're going to do something.
Wait,
Jay, before
Jay, don't. Yeah, you.
No, I'm not getting out of here.
Hold on.
They didn't do it last year. And I'm not going to put them at number 2 or number 1.
They went to game 7 in the second round. And if Kevin Durant's foot is a size 14, they win that game. So
what was a size 14? They
lost.
Don't
make it seem like
they
lost.
And hold on. Because you're not. Hold on, but you're not gonna do them like that because Kyrie wasn't.
I'm gonna do them exactly like that.
Hold on. Kyrie wasn't healthy, and James Harden wasn't healthy.
See, but I think
and it came down to.
Here we go again. Well, they're not healthy. Okay, great. Okay, and what? All of a sudden, they're getting older. When you get older, do you just automatically get that much healthier? No, it's a reverse effect.
No.
Honestly,
I'm gonna tell you something.
Dave McLovin's point, in my opinion, is because when you really look at it, Kyrie's here part-time. Well, is Kyrie even going to be healthy by the time the playoffs come? Is James Harden going to be healthy by the time the playoffs come? Because that's been their career throughout the entire history of their careers. That's been it. Whether it was in Boston, whether it was in Cleveland, whether it was in Houston. Jay, don't make that face. Like, James Harden's always hurt. He's
not. I think that you guys are kind of going too hard on these two cats for some reason. James Harden never had that issue about
not
injuries.
James Harden.
James Harden was just not the guy that got it.
Jay McLovin, look at me straight in the face and tell me that James Harden and his hamstrings have a divorce every postseason.
It happened with Houston, and it happened it's happened in Brooklyn. Yes, and let's be honest. There's times when James Harden goes MIA in the playoffs. How many times did he go MIA in the playoffs? As a Houston Rockets fan, how many times did he go MIA in the playoffs? A lot.
No, that was wrong.
But that's not health.
I'm adding to it. I'm adding stuff to the reasons why they're not going to be there. You got health. You got chemistry. You got injuries.
You talk about James Harden being hurt, not being healthy. That has been the problem with James Harden. He's been healthy. This is the first time that he's really had an injury. He was always healthy in Houston. He didn't have no issues with injuries in Houston.
In Houston, it's more about him just disappearing in the playoffs. There's enough about James Harden that I don't count on him in the playoffs. That's my point. I don't count on him in the playoffs.
He wasn't disappointing. He wasn't disappearing. It was one man versus like 5 with Golden State.
Thank you.
Like he wasn't. He didn't have another 2.
Correct. But when you
look at how many shots he missed, because I did, Tony. Tony, how many games you watching the Rockets? How many games, Tony? How many games you watch? I can tell how many I watched. I watched brick after brick, and I'm like, damn, this is supposed to be the guy carrying the team. Tony, he couldn't carry shit.
He did carry the team.
That's the knock on James Harden.
You talking about him coming up, but Jay,
it was that way with Houston.
Hold on, Jay, calm down. But you talking about him coming up short in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals? Like, what are you talking about?
Hey,
this ain't the first round. You talking about the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah.
Like, I could understand
if they
was going out early, but they was making. But my point is that they were making deep playoff runs during that time of him being in Houston. So I
Look,
don't
you
think
can go,
you
you
can
can
say
go
that he
deep, but
doesn't
if you
come
don't
through
win
in
it,
the
you don't win
playoffs.
it.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's a fair, accurate statement.
I
And
think
I
it's pretty
agree
accurate.
because
I
look,
watched the man.
but look,
I watched the man
but look.
shooting miss after miss in Houston. A lot of
But
them.
look, but Jay, here's the
I
thing.
remember watching games and the commentator be like, "Well, there goes James Harden with another miss. Can't count on him." I mean, how many times I heard that comment? A lot.
No, but you're not understanding though. In Houston, James Harden was a ultra high volume shooter in Houston.
I get
James
that.
Harden was assigned to shoot 35 shots a game in Houston. So even his misses were a part of the offense. Like, and
Y'all really
go ahead.
believe that? I'll tell you right now, Houston made out like a bandit when we got rid of Harden. I was so glad to get rid of Harden, man. We got all them draft picks. We made out well.
But
And what has
You
Brooklyn
claim-
got for it? Hey,
You
what has
didn't
Brooklyn
get
got
nothing.
for it?
Nah, Jay, because that's not that shit just don't slide like that. You
It's
didn't
not just like that. What has
You
Brooklyn
didn't
got
get
for it?
anything.
No,
You
but
got
what did you
nothing.
get?
Zilch.
You got to broke
Nada.
down Oladipo.
No, we did. We did.
You got to broke down Oladipo.
We got draft picks for Harden.
Who was his number two?
We got three number one for
No,
Harden.
because Jay, here's what's crazy.
Hold on.
For
Hold on.
Jimmy
I want to go.
Butler,
Can Tony
for-
say what he's saying real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, who was
He
his
said it
number
like
two?
4 times.
Like he didn't have a number two
Yes.
until he got Westbrook. Like it was literally just James Harden for the
Yeah,
entire
Chris
damn
Paul.
time.
So we didn't
And he
have
was
Chris
carrying.
Paul.
You
Okay.
you had
And
Chris
Chris
Paul.
Paul
And,
was
and
always
what,
hurt.
and what happened?
I
with
just,
Chris Paul?
I just don't believe the
got hurt.
Brooklyn. I don't believe in the Brooklyn Nets. I have zero faith in the Brooklyn
I
Nets.
think the main comment out of everything we just said was the fact that, let's be real here, the Bulls for Jimmy Butler got Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and Chris Dunn and a pick. What did you get for James Harden, one of the best scorers in this generation? Is nothing.
Correct.
Nothing.
So you make.
Hey,
You're
right,
making
hey,
a-
but look at us now. We beat your Bulls. So
And-
shut the
and-
hell up.
Guess
and
what,
Chris-
though? Where am I, Jay? Top 3 in your standings.
And Chris. And
Hey,
Chris
I
Paul had
quit
the
it.
same
Hey,
thing
you
happen to him
are.
this year.
Hey, I actually put you at number 2.
Because Chris, you think about it. When James Harden was having to lead the Rockets against the Warriors, and his number 2 was Chris Paul, what happened to Chris Paul? Chris Paul got hurt, and then once again, who was it? It was James Harden
all
versus
on James
5
Harden.
Golden State Warriors
Man,
at
that
their
was-
peak
man,
and in
y'all
their
remember them
prime.
days? Y'all remember them? That shit was nice. That shit was
Those,
nice.
Hey.
those were great. I remember watching that whole series. That was a great series.
I wasn't
Chris
even
Paul
mad. They're
got
my
freaking
favorite
hurt.
super team, bro. They were nice.
So and Tony, so everybody gave their top in the East, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
everybody.
now we're going to the West. Top 3 in the West. Let's start with Jay Ness, and we'll just go that direction. Jay, what you got?
I mean, this one is very, very easy. I'm gonna save that third one. Obviously, first 2 Warriors Suns. Every game they played this year has been freaking fantastic basketball. I'm talking about their head-to-head matchups. They've been fantastic, and they really look like the 2 best teams in the West when they play head-to-head matchups. And then they look like the best teams in the West every freaking night, in and out. Every night I'm looking at the Suns, and obviously, not trying to be a homer, but I'm looking at the Suns like, dang, he's doing this tonight? Dang, he's doing Jalen Smith. If you don't know who Sticks is, please get you some
Body
Sticks in
somebody
your life.
last night. Sheesh.
That was Plumlee. And people are
Sheesh.
going to start seeing Sticks now, man. He's been in the NBA waiting. He was a young guy when we got him. I've been rooting for him since we drafted him, and he's been getting some playing time now that COVID's been going. So I really like that, him stepping in there. We've needed a 4 for the past 3 years. No disrespect to Jay Crowder whatsoever, but he's not the 4 that you want as a starter. I'd rather
He's a
him come off
stretch
the
four.
bench. Correct.
Okay.
But outside of that, number 3, I have the Jazz, but please, please, please watch out for the Memphis Grizzlies. Watch out, because they might sneak into that top 3 and lock it down for years to come.
Jay stole my picks.
All right, then. We will slide down the mic then.
Well, I think at the end of the day, respectfully, I know you got to beat the best to be the best, but the Warriors have been the best before. and they've been the best for a very long time and a lot longer. So to be able to have Klay Thompson hopefully coming back this Sunday, or at least be an idea of, okay, he's back. You know what I mean? Like he can play at any time, not, okay, here's the timeline of when he may or may not come back. And as someone who picked him up in fantasy, get your ass back here now. But we're 3-8. Let's go. But I got them coming back. Wiseman and Klay are going to be a huge impact for them. I hope it doesn't change the impact of Jordan Poole, Gary Payton the second, third, whichever one it is. Second. All right, thank you. But yeah, it's definitely something I hope doesn't impact them too much because they're going to probably be getting less shots. But I think very early on it'll be perfectly fine because Klay won't be needing the ball that much. I think they're going to get him back in tune. And I'm praying for him because Klay is one of my favorite players in this league. So I have the Warriors at 1, the Suns at 2. The Suns at 2, and rightfully so. Is the greatest thing that could have happened to them as a team is losing in the finals. I truly believe that. For the longevity and long term, I felt like Chris Paul especially disappointed me because I know he had never been to the finals. So when he finally made it, Kenny, you and I talked about it when it happened. I said, this man's acting like he just won a championship. And I get it. It's a great accomplishment to finally get there. But that's where I felt like it all ended, was because that's when I was like, all right, you're losing the focus. Giannis goes down with the hyper knee extension. You're still not performing that. You're still not taking over when you should. And that was where problems lie. But losing that finals, I think it stung with guys like Debo because they're hard workers. And what that meant for him with Kobe and everything else meant everything. Jay Crowder, Jay made a point about Jay Crowder, and I'm going to bring another one. That man's been to 2 back-to-back finals and has 0 rings on his finger other than his wedding ring. That man's pissed. Like, you better come back. And bringing in JaVale McGee, another guy who's won a championship before. Ayton, not giving him that extension, which, Jay, we've had this conversation. But not getting the extension, he's playing up to that extension now. He's trying to play like a big man. He's trying to be that guy. So I have the Suns at 2. And 3 is an interesting one because I think at the end of the day, we're talking about Memphis. And just to be different, I love Memphis. I love Ja. I've been big on Ja since college. But just to be a little bit different here, I think when you see the Nuggets at full strength, if potentially Jamal Murray can come back and maybe be that guy, I think it's a conversation to be had that you might want to take them just a little bit more seriously than other people are.
Good point. Kenny?
Yeah, of course, the top 2, Golden State and Phoenix. I think in order for Phoenix to overtake Golden State, I think they're going to have to really lean into their size advantage because to me, I think that's where the difference is using the DeAndre Aytons, using the, JaVale McGee's, using the Jalen Smiths, using those guys in the paint and scoring points in the paint. Because to me, that's the one weakness of the Golden State Warriors is they don't have a lot of size and a lot of depth in the front line. And, Draymond Green is undersized. They really don't have a shot blocker in the paint. So I think in order for Phoenix to overtake Golden State, they're really going to have to push that advantage. And I hope it all works out that they wind up in the Western Conference Finals because I think that's like a 15-round heavyweight fight that goes 7 games. So those are definitely the 2. But I got Memphis at 3. Jay said, watch out for Memphis. I think they here. They're not going nowhere. Matter of fact, they just spanked Brooklyn. I was watching. They spanked Brooklyn a few minutes ago.
Ja's a dog, man.
That's what I mean. And Ja is not Ja. He's letting the league know, like he's putting the league on notice that I'm here. You're gonna put my name. You're gonna put my name in. When you're talking about elite players, you're gonna start talking about me with the rest of these guys. And he kind of started that coming out party in the playoffs against Golden State, ironically. So I just think that they're on an upward trajectory. And I love Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. I think they have a great young core, and they got some nice pieces. Desmond Bane is a really good player that I didn't know about, that he's really come on this year and given them a lot.
Brooks.
So they got some nice young pieces. And I think, I talked about it earlier, when it comes to the playoffs, like you got to have that guy that can take over the game. And to me, that's the one thing that Ja Morant can do.
Yes.
And I think with Utah, they kind of struggle to score in the playoffs because they're kind of more of a sum of their parts as opposed to, one big piece. Although Donovan Mitchell is a great player, but sometimes he tends to struggle with his shot in the playoffs. So I just think that I just like Memphis a little better than them, and so that's my 3: Golden State, Phoenix, and Memphis.
Because Utah seems to get a little bit one-dimensional in the
playoffs.
Yeah,
they kind of it's almost like they get figured out when it comes playoff time. So and they start struggling to score, and they don't really have another closer besides Donovan Mitchell. So if he's not rolling, if he's not giving them 25 to 30, they kind of struggle to figure out who's going to be that other guy because Conley, he kind of comes and goes, and he wasn't healthy last year, so we didn't really get to see him being 100%. Matter of fact, the last 2 playoffs, he's been banged up. Yeah. So I think that's been a problem for them. And then, and then, of course, what's the name? Rudy Gobert is not a factor offensively unless you're throwing him a lot. Right. So I just think they when the game slows down, they just struggle to get baskets. So I think that's what hurts them come playoff time. And I just think that Memphis has a few more guys that can get their own shot and also make plays for other guys. That's why I
got Golden State, Phoenix, and Memphis as well. I really think Memphis is going to, especially after COVID, I think Memphis is going to come back and they're going to be straight. So I definitely like the way Memphis is playing. I think they're playing like dogs. All right, man. Hey, we're going to jump into players that are impacting or what impact they are going to have on their teams when they come back. We'll start off with Kyrie Irving and the impact on Brooklyn. Jay, I'll let you start that one off.
Like I said, man, Kyrie Irving impact for Brooklyn, it's going to be major because I hear what Mike's been saying, and I'm going to take one out of your guys' book. You guys were talking about injuries. You guys were talking about players being healthy when it comes playoff time.
Hey, don't do this though. Don't do this though, Jay. Kenny knows. That's my dog. I love me, Kyrie.
So hold on. So Kyrie could be used simply as James Harden, take the night off. Kevin Durant, take the night off tonight.
Right.
Oh, we need to do this. You guys take this. You can play, but take the back seat to this one.
Right.
And there's a lot of different ways we can go and look at how we're going to utilize Kyrie. The other thing is, guys, before I even move on to what I think the impact of this is, I think this is bigger than just basketball. And we need to make a little bit of shed on that, shine some light on that. Remember in August, guys, this guy was ridiculed. Stephen A. Smith called him a clown on national television.
Man, he still is to this day.
They beat this dude's name into the floor, said he shouldn't be in the league any longer. Right. If you don't want to play, get the hell out of here.
Retire.
And he took all that and said, I still believe what I believe. I still feel like this foreign substance that you guys haven't given me enough information about shouldn't belong in my body. And I always said, whether I agree with what he's saying or not, I agree with how he's handling it. And tenfolds, it comes back around. Now Kyrie's getting called into play. And I want to shine some light on that because now what he could have done was now he could have been like this in the corner as some, the pouting young kid, like, no, y'all told me y'all didn't want me to play. I ain't going to play and made a political statement out of it. But he's coming back. He's going to take the ride. He's going to play the games he can play. He's not going to be a distraction to his locker room, which he never was. He was never trying to be. And I think this is going to be a positive light for the team in itself. And I think it might push them on a 10-game, 11-game winning streak because of it, just to be honest. So I think it's going to have a very positive effect on the team overall.
Mike, what you got?
Listen, Kenny knows. That's my dog. And when Freddie and everybody else was ridiculing this man, ASAP, talking about him, Jay, I ain't gonna flash to you. You played your role. I think everyone played their role, but me. No, and Kenny,
I stood pat. Kenny knows I stood pat. Like y'all is tripping. Lay off of Kyrie. Kyrie's gonna stand by what he believes, and I stand by it as a man. He's doing what he's doing as a man. He accepts the consequences as a man. That was my theme of it. He's handling it as a man.
And I think at the end of the day, people forget how much of a dog this kid is. and that he's
Yes.
still a kid. People think this guy's 34 years old.
No.
You know, I hear you. You know, he's not the biggest fan of a fresh fade and a clean beard, but this kid's young. This kid's young. You know, he's doing his thing. He might look a little older. He might wear baggy clothes. He might be doing the stagings and stuff. But this kid can move. And if he's healthy, and that's my biggest thing is just Kyrie's health and it always has been. And it's not a shot at Kyrie. It's just a legitimate statement.
He might be the healthiest ever now.
Right.
But that's my thing though, is we've seen plenty of times where he's the healthiest ever and he's had so much time and it's still it's just nagging injuries. It's just his play style. It's the way he moves about it. And that's really what hurts him. But the impact is everything. Now, the one problem I do have with what you said, Jay, is this. Oh, well, KD needs the night off. All right, well, Kyrie can fill in as long as you're not in New York, as long as you're not in California. And
and that's what I was referring to, like on the road games.
But what I mean is that is with everything going on now, Chicago is adding to New York and California as well. Other cities are starting to implement the same thing. I don't know how long and how many places Kyrie's actually going to be able to play come playoffs. Like, I really don't, because, you know, the one place I know Kyrie Irving is safe is Florida, because Florida could give a damn about the whole thing. They don't care, like, at all. But it's just, to me, at the end of the day, I think the impact is huge. The impact changes the game and the narrative of who's actually going to the finals and who's not. But at the end of the day, I think there's always going to be that question mark of, is he going to be available? And that's why my thing with James Harden was the same thing, is when you look at it, James Harden did play in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, but he was a decoy. He wasn't healthy either.
No,
let's not call it for what it was. He was a decoy. He was standing there doing nothing. He was afraid to shoot. And that was where my thing was, is I had seen it happen a couple other times in Houston, not throughout the longevity of Houston. He was a dog throughout all those years, but later on, him and Paul and Westbrook were just on and on and on with these muscle injuries. And then you started to see it a lot more in Brooklyn. And that's where I'm kind of like, I just don't know the availability of these guys. And for Kyrie's point, I don't know the availability of you just because I don't know where you're going to be playing tomorrow night. You know what I mean? So the impact is huge. But at the end of the day, I think it's unfortunate that it's not as huge as it should be because of the rules.
Kenny, what you got?
I think the impact is more so to take to Jay's point, to take some of the load off of KD and off of James Harden. They've been playing, especially KD. He's been playing a lot of minutes. I think that's really the biggest reason why they brought him back, is to lessen the load on those guys, and he'll give them a shot in the arm in terms of being somebody that could come in and get you 25 or 30 on those road games. And also, like Jay said, KD could kind of maybe play 25, 30 minutes those nights, as opposed to playing 35 to 40 minutes that he's been playing. So maybe, that kind of helps to keep him fresh, as well as James Harden, keep them fresh going into the playoffs, because, like we were talking about earlier, that was really the biggest reason why they lost to Milwaukee, is that they had injuries in terms of James Harden and Kyrie turning his ankle. And then the other thing is that I think this also helps to keep Kyrie fresh, because he has battled injuries throughout his career. So the fact that he's not playing a full schedule, that gives that gives probably him the best chance to be at his healthiest going into the playoffs. And who knows what happens with these vaccine mandates? Who knows if he gets vaccinated between now and going into the playoffs, and he becomes a full-time participant? We don't know. So I just think that it's just going to help them in terms of keeping their team fresh and keeping their stars fresh going into the playoffs. So I think that's really the biggest impact that he's going to have.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from the, I guess, keeping them fresh standpoint, when he's actually on the court and able to play, then yeah, I can see that. But the rest of it, I just think he's a distraction. I think they can't really develop good chemistry with him, because he's not always playing all the time. So I don't see it like that. I think Kyrie's a good player, but I just think you got to be with the team all the time. I think he's not.
He'll still be, but I think what you're missing though is that he'll still be with he'll still be with them because he's practicing while they're in. He can practice, and that's another thing that's crazy. How can he?
Okay, if he's, maybe I misunderstood. I thought he was allowed to be in New York.
He can practice. No, he can practice, and that's another thing that makes this thing crazy is that he's allowed to practice with the team while they're in New York, but he can't play in games in New York. That's another subject for another day.
Exactly.
Because if that's the case, if he's allowed to practice where he can still build that chemistry, then that's great. I mean, it is what it is.
And that's the part that people are forgetting, though, Jay, is that this is not an NBA thing. This is nothing.
No, it's a state thing. It's a city telling him that.
So,
and I get that. That's what I'm saying. So if he's allowed to practice where he can develop like to where he's not a whatever, then that's fine.
Right. But Jay, it's a weird position. To your point though, if dropping 25 to 30 points a night is a distraction, I would love a distraction. I'm just saying. That's just me. That's just me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So moving on, let's talk about Klay.
Let's talk about the GOAT. Talk about him nice, Jay. What's his name? Klay the GOAT Thompson?
You gotta relax.
Oh, yeah.
Relax.
Hey, listen.
The GOAT. The GOAT.
Let's start with you, Mike, since you're already amped up. Let's talk about Klay Thompson, what he means to the Golden State Warriors, what the impact of him will be.
I'll tell you what. DeMar DeRozan getting MVP chance. All these other cats having amazing years, going for most improved player of the year, comeback player of the year. Don't matter. Klay missed 3 months, and he's still winning that award. I promise you that. I promise you that. This man's coming back. I don't care what anybody says. This man's coming back with a vengeance. And
I hope so. He's been out for a while. If he can't do it now, he ain't never gonna do it.
Y'all gonna disrespect my man and leave him on number what? 77 of the top 75 of all time? Oh, just know. Karma's Jay, you already know. I can't swear on here no more, but karma's real, and she's coming. Now, defensively, might not be there, but shooters shoot, and don't be.
All you gotta do is shoot the rock.
The other day, 24 threes in a row at the practice.
He still got the.
Just know, he ain't going nowhere. And now with Poole and Wiseman and Draymond and all these other cats out there and Gary Payton II, he don't even got to play a lick of defense.
The biggest thing with Klay is him, there's freak injuries.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, he, sometimes you just get those freak injuries, man, and I hope that he can stay away from that. And if he can stay away from that, yeah, he's gonna have no problems.
Right. But I'm just saying, just know, all y'all had to do was put my boy on the list, and none of these problems would be in your face right now. But now you want to put Dame. You want to put Dame on that list. We got a problem. I
agree. Jay, what you got?
Let me tell you guys something. Any man that can put up 30 plus points and dribble the ball 5 times in a game is I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck guarding them. And then you add Gary Payton Jr., then you add Poole, and then if James Wiseman comes back at any point before the playoffs, you add him to the mix, and I'm telling you, we might actually see a guy put up 30 and never dribble ever. It's like seriously, we might see a guy put up 30 and never dribble. Crazy. And you know the craziest thing is, any other time, you guys, we'd be sitting here like, but what if the injuries and Jay to your to what you were just saying, you even brought it up, like, but it's a freak accident, and this particular player is the only player I don't care. I don't care about the injury pass. I don't care, because he plays and his playing style protects him in a way that he's not putting himself through the possibilities of getting injured like an average player is. And he's not using his athleticism in a way that an average player is using it to get injured.
But take into consideration, he tore the Achilles, comes back.
A freak accident.
Hold on. Just listen to me.
Well, the ACL
he tears the Achilles, comes back, tears the ACL right off the bat.
No,
now those are 2 major injuries.
No, it's opposite.
And
ACL, then the Achilles.
It was the ACL, then the Achilles.
Well, you know what I'm saying, right? I'm just saying. Either way you want to look at it, tit for tat, there's still 2 major injuries, and that's big, right? I mean, that's big.
Same leg, right?
No.
Same leg.
No.
Anyway, maybe it was opposite. It doesn't matter. Those are still big injuries.
No, they are.
Your Achilles is freaking huge.
No,
you can rip that thing a second time with no problems.
But the difference is
you can breathe on it wrong and tear it.
To Jay's point, though, as a shooter, he's not exactly. He's not putting as much.
You say that, you say it, but it can happen.
But I'm just saying, in terms of as a shooter, though, you're not putting as much strength. Like, say, like the D Rose, like he kept on having those same problems because the way he played the game.
Why you do that?
D Rose my guy, but that,
so many other conversations we could have had. So many other guys.
But just the way he played, it he's going to put that stress on his body because of the way he plays, and I don't think Clay's going to have that same issue. So
and you look at it too is how did Clay tear his ACL? Was dunking. He shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. I don't see it happening.
But you can twist. You can twist, slip, fall. No, there's a million other ways you can jack yourself up. You don't have to dunking.
What I'm saying is his game. He was doing something that wasn't natural for his game.
Correct. And that's to your point too.
And that'll be the adjustment that he'll make.
Right.
And to the defense against what you're saying, Jay, is you're 1,000% right. No one is saying that you're wrong in everything that you just said. This is a possibility, and this is a possibility, and this is a possibility. But we're not talking about, Allen Iverson's or John Morant's or Derrick Rose.
You don't have to be a John Morant to turn left and have it tweak.
No. But what we're saying is like, and sorry to keep bringing up Derrick Rose, but he's the best analogy in this. He has so much torque. When he goes to jump, he's driving so much power and energy through his legs, through his knee, through those ankles that those springs burst. And what we're trying to say is that Clay, his style of play protects those springs, protects those ankles, protects those knee joints. And to, Mike's, what he was just saying, to piggyback off of it, when he was dunking, that's not Clay. He was out there clowning around and got hurt. That's what we're saying.
You better hope he doesn't clown around, man. You better hope he doesn't do those freak things. Because those freak things, you're right. Those freak things never happen.
No, I just think that
it never happened.
Also,
you learn from it, right?
The other thing that they're going to do is they're going to really monitor his minutes. They're going to be really careful in how to utilize him.
He's a role player for a very
long time. He's going to play 15. They're probably going to start him with 10 to 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, that type of thing. And they're going to be really smart and really wise as to how they, implement him. So I think his impact to answer the question, the topic, I don't think his impact is going to be as great for that reason. Is that they're going to really be careful in terms of monitoring and managing his minutes because they want him, just like with Kyrie and, we were talking about with the Nets. They want those guys exactly. They're thinking the long term. They're thinking the long run. They want him to be as fresh as possible and be as healthy as possible going into the playoffs. I think this is really, to me, I think this is just for him to get a rhythm, to get back into the rhythm of playing with his teammates.
My point.
To get back out there, going up and down, rebuilding that chemistry with Steph and with his other teammates, because he hasn't played with Jordan Poole, he hasn't played with Gary Payton, the second, and those other guys, Andrew Wiggins. So he's gonna, just take the time to figure out his space, figure out his spots and where he can get his shots from, and how he's gonna space the floor and how he's gonna play off of those guys. Right. But he's gonna be, because to Mike's point, he still could shoot that thing. We saw that. He's still knocking it down. So, and he's going to get a ton of open looks.
Right. Now,
because of all of the attention that Steph gets, he's going to get a ton of open looks. So he's going to get his opportunity to knock down shots. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a game where he goes off for about 4, 5, 6 threes, and he's like, oh, there he goes, he's back. And he has one of those nights, but I don't think it's going to be one of those things where he's going to come back averaging 15, 20 points a game like he was before he got hurt. I think it'd be like, 10 to 15 or something like that.
Kenny, do you think that the wisest decision, though, is to have Clay coming off the bench so that you don't have guys like Jordan Poole and others kind of declining because of not getting as many touches? Because Clay could be a 6th man of the year type guy if he's on that bench.
From what I saw, that Kerr already said when he comes back he's starting. So I think that decision.
I don't know if I would do.
I agree with you because the way those guys are rolling,
right?
I think you kind of you don't mess with that chemistry, and I think it's easier to implement him as a guy coming off the bench as opposed to being a starter, and then also managing his minutes is easier to me. Right. Coming off the bench as it is as a starter. Right. But I mean, Kerr knows what he's doing. But I'm with you. If it was my decision as a coach, I'm bringing him off the bench. But I just think that he's that's one of those things where you talked about the whole top 75 thing. He's giving them showing them that respect and bringing him back as a starter. But yeah, I would have brought him off the bench if it was my decision.
Oh yeah, at least for a few. 7-8
for
games.
A couple weeks or something.
Yeah.
And especially because those guys are rolling. Jordan Poole is rolling. Andrew Wiggins is rolling. So I don't know if one of the things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. But Jay made a great point. He said the word. I was waiting for someone to say it. I didn't think we were going to get to it. Jay McLovin's going to love this too. Jay, you said something about 8 games. Just a little update. The Bulls have now won 8 straight games. That's just what an amazing transition. I just threw that out there. I thought that was a little fun fact.
Hey, that was a very, very, very beautiful transition there. I'm glad that you caught that around with that one.
Hey, listen, you got to give Mike his props, man. After dealing with the Chicago Bears, you got to give him that ray of hope with the Chicago Bulls. So.
Why you think my wall's red? Why you think my wall's red?
Any chance he gets up for alley-oop, he's going to take it. I'm not mad at it.
Since we're doing 8s, though. 8 is the number of losses the Suns have this season, which is 2 less than Chicago Bulls. I just want to throw that out there too.
That's hot. I'll see you in February, my boy. I'll see you in February.
All right, man. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Anybody got any final thoughts before we call farewell?
I will. Yeah, I just want to say real quick, and we didn't really talk about it, but man, what a dud those bowl games were, man. I was really excited and looking forward to those college football playoff games, and both of them were just straight duds. So I just want to say, man, please let this championship be a competitive game.
Hell yeah.
Me
too, man. Shit.
I want to throw it on
Georgia better figure it out. Georgia better figure it out.
Please. I cannot watch another year of Alabama winning another international championship.
In the same
Jay, what do you got? Before I'm going to let Mike say his thoughts last because he's long-winded. Jay, what you got?
Well, in the same light on Kenny's behalf, what Kenny was saying, big ups to Oklahoma State and Notre Dame. That was a doozy.
Oh, yeah, it was. Man. I agree. Absolutely. And it just shows you again why Notre Dame just doesn't belong.
No, I'm not going to say that because they fucking put on. I mean, excuse my French again. They tried it better this year. They put on a really, 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 really
great first half. Yeah, great first half.
That game was good, man. That game was so good.
A great first half. That's it.
But I will end it with this. I want to say congratulations, Becky Hammonds.
Oh, yeah.
Las Vegas Aces. That's huge this year.
Yeah, that's love.
Right now, as she's taking on those duties, she's doubling up. She's still the assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs. And I think that she's about to move the WNBA in a big direction in the next few years. I think what she's about to do is just obviously it's just starting. But for her to sit in the seat that she sat in for so long behind Greg Popovich, for her to sit kind of in that shadow, waiting patiently to kind of take that realm and then deciding to go to the Las Vegas Aces, which kind of we've talked about all show how money in Vegas, they come together. So her going to the Las Vegas Aces, I think a lot of money is about to get funneled into that, and it's really going to help the WNBA. So I just wanted to draw some light on that. Hats off to Becky Hammonds with that.
All right, Mike, give me the diatribe, baby.
Actually, mine was very similar to Jay's. Is Becky Hammond? It's one of those situations. I heard a lot of people saying that this is a downgrade for her, and saying that this was a bad move and it's a bad look and it's because a woman couldn't make it in the NBA, and that's the farthest thing. Yeah, that's the farthest thing from the truth. What this brings to the WNBA, and you guys know I covered the Chicago Sky throughout the finals and throughout that entire go. It's what these women do is so amazing and so much fun to watch. I'm gonna be real. The highlights are nice, but I have more fun watching women's basketball than I do men's, just because it's a lot more competitive. The games are a lot more
strategic.
Right, more strategy into it. It's not just, all right, we'll dump it to Zion and he'll dunk. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a strategy of, you know, who can make the best game plan and who can adjust to it. And Becky Hammon, having one of the greatest coaches of all time to be mentored by and be a part of the NBA and bringing that into the WNBA shows so much of what Kobe Bryant was trying to do with Gianna Bryant and many other individuals, of bringing the NBA atmosphere into the NBA. And vice versa.
Job, right?
And that's where I think people misconstrued it of, oh, well, she could have eventually been an NBA head coach, or, oh, well, she couldn't hack it and that's why she left. No, she learned from one of the best, and now she's going to bring that into something that means probably the world to her. And that's going to mean much
more. It would mean more to her to win a championship there than it would to win an NBA championship. I think.
Right.
And mark my words, she will coach in the NBA.
She
will
coach. She was a finalist. She was a finalist for the Blazers job. So she's had some opportunities to interview as a head coach. So it's just a matter of time.
Right. I think she will.
This is not a downgrader. This is not.
I think she'll go there. So. She'll win a chip or two, and then she'll be back in the NBA. But I think without a doubt, congratulations to her, because it's to blatantly disrespect someone because of their gender or because of going to the WNBA is just the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And you are the same people that can't hoop, so don't talk to me. And that's just the reality of it.
Right. No, and there's no other way to put that. WNBA, I really think that this is gonna be a long-term effect. And I'm glad you brought up the Kobe and the Gigi thing.
It was gonna be you.
This is what he was pushing towards. So, and I want to applaud Becky for taking that leap and doing it, because like you said as well, Mike, I think she is going to get a lot of backlash and hate. Oh, you took the downgraded job. You couldn't make it. We told you. There's going to be a lot of those people out there, and that's not what's happening. Win a championship.
You know what I mean?
Right. Like, that's not what's happening here.
It's crazy.
Well, all right, folks. On behalf of Jay, Mike, and Kenny, and Tony, who we rarely see from time to time.
Man. See,
hey, it's been ASAP. And
I just want to say.
Of course you do, Mike. Of course you do. That's why I call you long-winded. Go ahead, Mike. Say what you want to say. Put a PS in there.
I may be late, but I never left you twice. I'm just saying. I never left you twice.
And of course, Freddie, conveniently had to work.
Mm-hmm.
He had to close.
Yeah.
After he's taken 2 butt whoopings the last couple of weeks, 2 embarrassing losses, he hasn't been able to show up for the show. Mighty convenient. I'm just saying.
Well, that's a whole other hour of Freddie's long-winded diatribes that I'm glad we didn't have to deal with tonight. So we're all good. The show was fun.
Yep. And before we close out, I do want to let you guys know, since this is the first Monday and the first episode of Real Talk of the 2022 year, thank you for rocking with us for another one. But check us out if you guys haven't already. We're on Viva, we're on Tiki, we are on Roku as well. We got a lot of good shows coming around, some new shows coming up. We have an all-women's show that we're going to be breaking here soon with just an all-women's panelist. We have a lot of stores, so stay with us, guys. We appreciate you rocking with us so far.
No doubt.
All right. And on that note, everybody have a good evening. We out of here.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.